Hello class and welcome to Unit 5. This means we are just getting through class so quickly, and before you know it, you'll have another class under your belt and one class closer to graduation. This week, Unit 5, what you have due. So first off is the case study that you were due. Last week you were assigned a pair, and in one case a group of 3, in that you were to analyze and review the G Technica and Alcel Media. Hope I pronounced those correctly, probably didn't. Case studies, and so you're going to be preparing your analysis for those and using the sheet that's posted in the unit tab with those 4 questions, and that's what you're going to be doing. 4 questions, yes, 4 questions, and so that's what you're going to be submitting for your Unit 5 work. And then the other component is that you have a discussion question due as well. Now, what you're going to be discussing in Unit 5 is how global negotiations work, if culture plays an aspect in that, and if so, how. Now, I don't like to steer answers when I do these posts. I just share my own thoughts, and I will say that when it comes to does culture impact negotiations, I would say that you could possibly make an argument for both sides of that case. The one thing that I will say, though, that I believe is part of any negotiation, regardless of what the culture is that there are 2 parties that are trying to reach an agreement. That's ultimately what a negotiation is. Now, and that does not change across boundaries. Now, how that gets done, timelines of how that gets done, who's involved in that, those are variables that do tend to change or vary, apologize for the dogs, based on different cultures. And so different cultures will have different components of negotiation. And one thing that I would encourage you to make sure that you take into consideration is that when you are negotiating with parties of a different culture, is that you know what those cultural customaries are when you begin negotiations, because that can impact the negotiations regardless of if you meant them to or not. So when you are negotiating, it's a lot like communications, is that as you are the person that is the deliverer of that message, it is really your responsibility to make sure that the party who's receiving it is able to do so in a way that's meaningful to them. As oftentimes where communication or negotiations can break down is because we as the sender believe that people should be on our playing field, and the reality is people don't come to our playing field, we need to go to their playing field. And so how do you adapt those, and how do you modify that so that you can have a successful outcome when it comes to that? So I am very much looking forward to your discussion, especially because there are so many of you in class that because of your military experience, you've been stationed in other countries. So I'm just very excited to hear about what those global and cultural experiences are. And now again, remember, when we're talking about negotiations, I'm not looking for the big contracts and the big negotiations. I'm very curious to hear what your negotiation experiences have been in your everyday lives, and especially in those of you that have experience doing it in other parts of the world. So as always, if you have any questions, you know where to reach me. Let's have a phenomenal Unit 5. And the one thing I do want to say before I sign off today is, when it comes to your group work over the next next unit, is that you are paired in groups of 2 and 3, and you have to work together to get this assignment done. So those of you that, if you have anything that's currently going on, life happens. It's a busy, every time of year is a busy type of year, but work schedules happen, family obligations, those types of things, and it's not assignments that you can get credit by doing it on your own. Essentially, you would probably only be able to get 50% of it, because you do need 2 parties or 3 parties depending on the unit to get this done. So make sure you're making contact with your group sooner rather than later. You do not want to get left behind on this one. So as always, if you have questions, let me know. I'm looking forward to a phenomenal Unit 5. Thanks, everyone.